Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Thunder Today YouTube channel. I am your host, Dylan Hibbard, and in today's video, we're going to go over the Thunder and Bucks tomorrow and just kind of what to expect from there. We're going to go through the plan for the Thunder over these last two preseason games and going into next week, which we're exactly a week away from opening night, which is crazy to say. So we'll kind of talk about how the Thunder plan for that. We'll talk about how good we think the Thunder trio is going to be in 2030. A list came out kind of ranking where they think the Thunder Big Three will be in 5 years from now. We'll kind of dive into that. And then at the end, we'll do a segment where Carmelo Anthony talked about the possibility of Russ coming back to OKC. But first off, we'll just kind of dive into the Thunder's final road preseason game of the year, and it's going to be in Milwaukee. Milwaukee obviously has one of the best four players, if not best three players in the entire world in Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we should expect him to see a play, especially being at home in Milwaukee. I'm sure he's going to be out there for a little bit, and I'm sure it sounds like the Thunder are planning on bringing pretty much everybody that we should expect to see for the regular season. So we should be seeing at least a bunch of stars out there, including Shea, J-Dub, Giannis, and Chet, and all of them. But we'll kind of look over what the plan is for the Thunder going into this one. And then obviously the Thunder will be playing the Nuggets at home for the final preseason game of the year. And then a week from now, we will be opening up against the Houston Rockets. And the Thunder for these last two games, we've kind of speculated with who's going to play, because obviously you've ran into some injuries already in this preseason, looking at A.J. Mitchell, Nikola Topic, and Isaiah Joe, three of your guards that you thought were going to be big contributors off the bench. Mark Daigneault said they're going to play it by ear and just really go based off of how everybody's feeling. Obviously, you don't want to push anybody who's not feeling that great, especially in preseason stuff. But with the travel list and the Thunder's social media stuff today, it looks like Shea, J-Dub, Chet, Lou Dort, Hartenstein, Wallace, like all the guys that are going to be the main guys for the Thunder this year are traveling to Milwaukee. So I'm sure we're going to kind of get a full-fledged idea of what the Thunder are going to run. Obviously, the Thunder are the best, and especially Mark Daigneault, at mixing and matching lineups depending on who that opponent is. We can run so many different looks. We obviously, towards the end of that first quarter, we run Shea with just the bench, but the Thunder's bench is so dang good, it doesn't feel like it's just Shea with a bunch of bench players. You still have Caruso, Wallace, Wiggins out there. It might be Ousmane Dieng. It might be Chet still out there running the five, or maybe even a J-Will. The bench is so good that even when we run those where it's Shea in the bench, it still feels like a really, really good NBA team. So I think the Thunder and their ability to run so many different lineups is what we should expect. And we should expect, I think we're going to see Shea, J-Dub, and Chet all out there and for Milwaukee. And I especially think we're going to see them against the Nuggets in that final preseason game. And I just really think that we should expect to see a lot of different guys kind of go at it. And we look at lineup factors. I'm interested to see how Mark Daigneault wants to switch and flip some lineups now, especially if the Thunder can get to full health where you have an A.J. Mitchell, Nikola Topic, and Isaiah Joe on that bench unit. Maybe you run five guards at some point, because there will be a lot of teams out there that can run the five guards, or maybe you run four guards and J-Dub. We've seen J-Dub when Chet and Hartenstein were out. He was able to run the five pretty well in those moments. So even if you want to run J-Dub at the five, maybe you have a Wallace, Shea, Caruso, and Isaiah Joe, and a J-Dub. There's so many different lineups. You can even run the double big lineup. You can run a lineup with just Hartenstein in there, just Chet in there at the five, and run like a Wiggins, J-Dub, Caruso, like a big defensive lineup. So that's what I think the Thunder have a big advantage is. There's nobody in the NBA that can mix and match the lineups quite like the Thunder can. So I think that's why there's such a big advantage to being able to use your bench guys. And that's why the Thunder are afraid to go to their bench guys early, because they know that these guys are much better than most people will give them credit for, or pretty much what everybody else has in their bench unit-wise in the NBA. The Thunder have the best of the best. But we'll kind of talk about now where the Thunder Big Three will be ranked in 2030. There's a list coming out obviously predicting 5 years into the future what the top 25, 30 players will be in 2030. And obviously the big three were all ranked inside the top 30. Number one being Victor Wembanyama, not much of a shock there. They had Cooper Flag at 2, which you could kind of guess all the hype coming out in this rookie season. We're going to see how he performs. They had Shea at number 3, which is very interesting. I thought they might have a Luka above him. I thought they might want to put somebody else up there. But they did have Shea in the top 3 still in 5 years from now, which makes total sense. Obviously, most people would bet in 5 years Wemby is that number 1 guy in the league. So you can do that. You can obviously debate. These are predictions and having to predict how players are going to go into the future. So it's a lot harder to say this player is going to be better than this player if they haven't even played an NBA game yet. And then they also had Chet at number 10. So they're expecting in 5 years from now Chet to take that leap that we all want to see him take and be a top 10 player, just trailing behind Amin Thompson and Alperen Şengün. And then kind of the surprise of it is J-Dub at number 17 in 5 years from now. So with how the rankings have been, they technically think J-Dub might take a little step back and be just around that 17 range for being a player in the 2030. Obviously, the league's going to progress. There's going to be so many different players. And so it sounds from like this list that they're predicting that Chet's going to take that leap and really be that second best player on the Thunder behind Shea, and Jada might take that third star role that Chet kind of has now where you're not scoring as much, but you're still providing so much value from being that third scorer. We know how good J-Dub can be already dropping 40 in a finals game, and his defensive impact is still going to be there 5 years from now. But I like that they believe in Chet and that they think he's going to take that jump here in the next 5 years, because I really think people forget how hyped Chet is, how big his defense can be, and if he can just get stronger, which Mark Dagnall has praised on how he's realized that Chet has really put in the work to get stronger and more muscular this offseason to stay healthier. He can take that leap and get more offensive production and really become a top 25 player by the end of this year, and hopefully here in the coming years enter that top 10 conversation. But we'll kind of wrap up this video talking about a little interesting thing for a podcast. Obviously, podcasts are big nowadays, and this podcast, I can't remember exactly which one it was, but Carmelo Anthony was on it, and he was asked about the possibility of Russ returning to OKC. We've talked about it so much in this offseason on this channel, just about the possibility of Russ coming back, trying to go for that ring one last time and coming back to OKC as a possible guy that comes off the bench, or just as an almost player coach where he's just kind of being that guy on the bench that kind of teaches these younger guys how to go about things. And Melo just straight up said he does not want Russ to come back to OKC whatsoever, because he knows that if he were to come back to OKC that he would not get the playing time that he deserves for the city. He would just kind of be what we talked about in that player-coach role, where he wouldn't be getting the playing time that maybe some fans would want because it is Russ. But I think it's fair enough to say that at this point in the career, if Russ realized what the Thunder have going and he wanted to get here just strictly for the rings and just kind of be that player coach on the bench, he could. But Melo's saying that pretty much straight up he doesn't want him to do that because it thinks it will taint his legacy for the Thunder in the long term of things, coming back here and just kind of not being the same player that he was when he left in 2019. So it's kind of interesting to see how he was just so amped up about it, how he doesn't think Russ should come back no matter what, because he's not going to get the playing time that he probably should from the Thunder, because the Thunder are so deep that there just wouldn't be any room really for him to play whatsoever. So you guys will have to let me know down below what your thoughts are on that, and if you think Russ would come back on just a player type coach contract or whatever that might be. But that'll be it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. It helps out the channel so much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.